Donald Trump did, I think, clear market manipulation. He, one, opened up the tariff faucet, literally tanked the entirety of global trade and the New York Stock Exchange. And then right before he unveiled that he was going to put a pause on the tariffs, that is the reason why there was so much market volatility and the lack of consumer confidence led to people selling their he said, buy, 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 buy. It's time to buy. Breaking news, Donald Trump has announced a 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs, increasing the tariffs on China to 125% in the escalating trade war. We're going to get right into it, ladies and gentlemen.
C News Special Report.
Hi, I'm Diane Macedo. We're coming on the air because President Trump has announced a 90-day pause on tariffs against most nations while raising tariffs against China. The markets have jumped on the news right now. We're seeing the Dow up about 2,000 points. The president posted on social media saying, quote, based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world markets, I'm hereby raising the tariff charged to China by the United States of America to 125% effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. The president went on to say that based on the fact that more than 75 countries have reached out to the U.S. to negotiate, he is putting a 90-day pause on most other tariffs. I want to bring in our ABC senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott, at the White House, where we just heard from the press secretary and the Treasury Secretary, on this. Rachel, how are they going to work now?
Treasury Secretary Scott Hasan, as well as the press secretary Caroline Levitt, are speaking to reporters right now here at the White House.
That's right. That's right. He folded. He folded. Some might say, excellent 5D chess move, Mr. President. He folded. Coward. He said, panicking. I'm panicking. I'm a panicking alert. I'm a panicanian myself. I folded. I folded.
Trying to explain how the administration is going forward on this. So just the headline here, the president was asked about whether or not he was going to do a 90-day pause just days ago by our own Mary Bruce. He said at this time it was not something that he is considering. Now the president is going forward with that 90-day pause. For most of our trading partners, it will be at 10%. For everyone else but China. China, the tariffs are now rising to 125%. The White House is insisting that 75 countries have come to the table, have reached out to this administration and the White House to continue these negotiations. It is very notable that China really not a part of those discussions right now. You see this tit for tat between the United States and China as this trade war between us and one of our largest trading partners is now escalating. But the bottom line here, Diane, the president is pulling back on some of those retaliatory tariffs that he initially announced just days ago, Diane.
And I want to bring in Whit Johnson, who spent the morning on the New York Stock Exchange. Whit, this is at least partially the news that so many investors were hoping to hear.
This is exactly what people were asking for. The one thing that's sort of missing in all of this is the clarity.
Dude, I'm done. I'm done with the media. I'm done with Donald Trump. I'm done with the dumbass Americans. I think we deserve this destruction, okay? Because Donald Trump did the same thing he always does. He broke something. Everybody went, "What are you doing? You are killing my children." And then he turned around and was like, "I'm not fixing it. I'm not fixing it." And then when push came to shove, he was like, "Okay, I won't break it any further. I'll break it only a little bit." And now everyone's like, "Brilliant chess move, Mr. President. What are we doing? What are we doing?" Oh, finally, a brief respite that everyone was demanding. Finally, the markets will breathe again. And it's like, dude, none of this had to happen. What are we talking about? This has literally been the exact same thing that Trump did his first administration. He did it in this first tenure. Term one, he did this exact same shit. Term two, he's doing the exact same thing. And he's done it over and over again in the past 3 months. Okay? It is so psychotic. I cannot comprehend how these people are so delusional, how they have deluded themselves. I make a stupid decision. Something really bad happens. I convince my followers the problem is now magically solved. I reverse my decision. I make a stupid decision again. It's that. This is what's happening. Yeah, biggest one-day gain for Nasdaq since 10/13/2008. This is why I hate the stock market. It is fake. It's bullshit. It's not real. Money is not real. Don't tell me the stock market is real, okay? It is so fake. It's the most fake of all time. It is the most fake of all time, dude. Holy moly. That's why I kept stressing the importance that like your 401ks diminishing is consequential, certainly. But what is more important here is the potential for layoffs. It's an indicator of the economy getting worse because the stock market gains are privatized at the tippy top, but the losses are socialized. This is precisely the reason why when it's doing well, you're not necessarily doing great, okay? But when it's doing poorly, you will suffer. Yeah, this is the meme. I'm adding tariffs. This will create jobs. I'm removing tariffs. Art of the deal. I'm adding tariffs. This will create jobs. I'm removing tariffs. Art of the deal. I can't stand these people. I can't stand the stupidity of Trump supporters and Trump riders in the media that are constantly going, oh, the market's green again. It's just stupid. Oh, we did it. Okay, yesterday you said the market was red, but it's inconsequential. Today it's green. Yesterday you said the tariffs are good. Today you're saying art of the deal, baby. Trump removed the tariffs. You have nothing. You're just responding to stimuli. You're like a cucumber, dude. You have the processing power of a barely functional, barely living organism. You're like a vegetable. I don't know. I don't know how to have a conversation with people like this. I don't know. It's so stupid. And by the way, the pain is not done. It's not over. The destabilization will continue. Also, this is a pause on the tariffs that we're going in place today. There's like 10% on every country plus 125% on China. Like companies are still getting exactly. I'm gonna be talking about all of that in a second. I just think it's funny that the market rallies so easily to be like, oh, thank God. Thank God he didn't fuck us over that hard. Oh my God. Oh, I thought he was going to do it. It's like, okay. Oh, he's not doing it. Oh, thank God. Dummies.
And the specifics. Obviously, we have the 90-day pause. There's some time for investors to digest. But what's interesting with the 90-day is that's what basically people have been calling on the president to ask for. This morning, we heard from Bill Ackman, who's a billionaire, who's a longtime supporter of Donald Trump's, who came out publicly warning about the effects of these tariffs. He put out in a statement on X earlier in the day calling for specifically a 90-day pause. We also saw Jamie Dimon with JP Morgan, who had been talking about the increased likelihood of a recession. So we see all of these people who President Trump knows very well, who'd been calling for this pause. We saw the markets reacting, hanging on every.
Asman says he's brilliant and China needs to play ball. I'm going to Brian Kill Me. I can't. I'm sorry.
Single word from the president, but this gives them time to figure out what's going to happen next. Now, one thing that we did see this morning, which I think for people from the outside looking in, it was a little bit confusing. Why did, after the tariffs were announced overnight, why did the markets kind of go up and down, up and down? And it seemed as if from some of the traders that I was talking to, they were suggesting that some of the concern had sort of been baked in the previous 4 days where we saw those massive declines. I mean, up to $6 trillion, in the S&P alone. And so they were waiting. And that's why you're seeing it going up and down. Every little piece of news, every little hint from the administration about a negotiation, maybe some.
You should debate Asman. I would love to do that. He's the one who would never do that. Okay, I'm down to do it.
Optimism, people were jumping in or people were jumping out. But this was that thing that they had been waiting for. But one piece of caution here, based on what I'm being told, is that, look, it's not over yet. You still have this escalating trade war between the U.S. and China. That's going to have a massive ripple effect. And so what does that mean? We don't know, but still some at least temporary good news when it comes to investors.
And let's dig a little deeper into that ripple effect with our chief business correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis. Rebecca, 90-day pause on most of these tariffs. On the one hand, increased tariffs, 125% on China. What does that mean for consumers?
Well, first of all, it's a stunning reversal. Just a week ago, the President Trump dubbed it Liberation Day and rolled out.
Bro, it's crazy. I sent an email to Fontes Media about their buy shot and asked why you were so low on the accuracy scale. They replied in depth. Do you have an email I can send the reply to? They asked for the reply if I wanted to submit better quotes. Yeah, send it to Hasan at night night.co. Hasan at night.co. Stocky said, you should have the stock guy on your stream. He said you have no idea what you're talking about when discussing the stock market. Wait, what is he saying about the is he pro Trump? Ain't no way. I doubt. I don't think I am in disagreement with Stocky at all on this stuff. Him and his chat talk about you constantly. Wait, first of all, anyone, there's no way he likes Donald Trump. That's number one. Y'all are fucking delusional if you think that he likes Donald Trump. Number two, in terms of anybody trying to make anybody trying to come up with like what the reason is for why Trump is doing this kind of thing, it has nothing to do with market fundamentals. It has nothing to do with understanding micro or macroeconomics. It has nothing to do with finance whatsoever, because Donald Trump and his admin are not moving in that way, demonstrably so. Look at the impact that it's had on the stock market. The reading the tea leaves is happening for every single person. And I would go so far as to say that I have a better assessment on what the Trump administration has been trying to do than most of the analysts that you've seen, because I cover a broad swath of different opinions here on this broadcast. So there's no one has the perfect answers, myself included. But in terms of like making sense of the senseless here with respect to what Donald Trump and his administration has done, I think that I have a pretty solid assessment. I think it's just simply a easy way to say like, oh, no one else knows what the fuck's going on here. Neither Asman nor Hasan know what the fuck they're talking about. And I'm the one who knows everything. I don't know. It's just a way to like, I think, present yourself as the most knowledgeable. And he is certainly more knowledgeable on the stock market than I am. I'm not knowledgeable at all on the stock market. I don't even have a credit card. Okay. Let's be real. I think that chatter just simply wants to do drama stuff. Yeah, but anybody that tells you exactly what's happening, and anybody that can tell you like that, and I don't even think that Stocky would say that regardless right now, especially because of the obvious instability and its impact, the impact that it's had on the stock market. Anybody that tells you they know what the f- is going to happen next is lying to you, okay? Why don't you have a credit card? I'm a madman.
All of these so-called reciprocal tariffs, and now there's a 90-day pause on the majority of them, except for on China. First of all, those sources I'm talking to on Wall Street have anticipated that a lot of this has been with the idea of isolating China. And you even heard from the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who's speaking right now.
I don't have bad credit. I own a house, chat.
Early countries who have come and spoken to the United States, the likes of Vietnam, South Korea, India, Japan, countries that might have aligned themselves with China are going to be included in this 90-day pause. That said, China is still a very, very important trading partner with the United States. They export about $440 billion worth of goods here to the United States. A number of small businesses and big businesses rely on China, and it appears that things are continuing to escalate there with part of this directive, including that increased tariff on Chinese goods that are coming here to the United States. So when it comes to those items like clothes, shoes, toys, electronics, some furniture that are coming here from China, when we've been talking about these possible price increases if the tariffs are to stay in effect, that is still on the table. Those price increases are still on the table, and anything that's coming from China, whether it's already left.
By the way, Donald Trump did, I think, clear market manipulation. That's the other side of this as well, because he, one, opened up the tariff faucet, literally tanked the entire global stock, the entirety of global trade and the New York Stock Exchange. And then right before he unveiled that he was going to put a pause on the tariffs, that is the reason why there was so much market volatility and the lack of consumer confidence led to people selling their he said, buy, 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 buy. It's time to buy. One of the most insane things I have ever seen. Goldman Sachs rescinds recession call after Trump tariff pause. I mean, dude, the graft is in broad daylight, is out in the open. Money is fake, and these guys are just making fun of you, I think. They're doing coin stuff, dude. Do you know how crazy this sequence is? Yeah, look at this. Great time to buy DJT on Donald Trump's Truth Social at 9:37 a.m. Couple hours later, based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world's markets, I am hereby raising the tariff charged to China by the United States of America to 125%, effective immediately. Okay? But that's not the point. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Departments of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the United States, I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Boom! Stock market goes crazy. People are doing victory laps. They're like, I've never nutted this hard. Thank you, Mr. President. You gave us the brief respite we needed. Money is so fake. I love fake money. That's basically what happened. I love how fake the money is. Make it more fake. Masterful gambit, sir. None of this makes any sense. It does. It's just like, it makes sense if you just look at it as we have outward in broad daylight graft and seemingly no interest in putting an end to it. Okay. We are at the mercy of a psychotic madman who has no interest in making changes happen in the least painful way possible. It's very clear. It is very clear that nobody cares about anything, and things are only going to get worse. In a year's time, Republicans are going to talk about how April 9th, 2025 was one of the greatest days in the stock market history because of Trump. Yes. Yeah, already Goldman Sachs has rescinded the recession call after Trump trade tariff pause. So countries that were going to get 105 tariff like Turkey, they don't have tariff. Wait, no. Countries are still getting tariffed. There is still going to be an extra entry fee. There's still going to be inflation. It's just not going to be potentially hyperinflation. Okay? That's it. That's the only thing that we are, I guess, avoiding, at least for the time being. There are still many issues, however. Truna says, great news. Resuming plans to close numerous manufacturing facilities in the Midwest and move all production to Vietnam and India. Me too. I am no longer working with union-made domestic manufacturing. Now that Donald Trump, the glorious president, revoked the tariffs, I'm going back to Vietnam, baby. I'm going to Vietnam. I don't think the recession, I don't know if the recession is called off or not. We'll talk about that in a second. Considering that the Chinese tariffs are still in place and he has increased them, which is negligible. It's inconsequential at this point because once he already maxed out on the tariffs, doesn't matter if he's doing 125%. You know what I mean? The difference between 104% and 125% is nothing. It's just there's no trade happening at that point. It is functionally a trade embargo that you have placed upon China. Now, of course, the interesting part about it is that China doesn't just directly manufacture things at this point. They also manufacture in Vietnam, in other countries. So, you know, it doesn't really, you know, there's still ways in which America will still get Chinese manufacturing. It'll just be at a higher cost from a secondary market. So we got that, but also here's CoffeeZilla once again, slowly but surely losing his mind. Trump front ran his own announcement to pause tariffs by saying it's a great time to buy 3 hours before huge news for stocks hit. This is levels of insanity we've never seen before. I think it's really funny that slowly but surely Slowly but surely, CoffeeZilla, over years of covering pure corruption within the cryptocurrency circles and recognizing that the exact same style of corruption, both for the cryptocurrency circles and for the regular stock market, is happening under the Trump administration, is becoming like a radicalized Marxist-Leninist vanguardist, I think, by the end of this process. Every day that goes by, I see another tweet from him going, what is happening? How is this allowed? Amazing. 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 Great time to buy. I'm going to do something freaky with the tariffs. If you believed his buy message and bought 100K of NVIDIA calls, you would have made 1.3 million. Does this feel as Nixonian madman theory to you as it does to me? Really starting to feel like Trump team thinks this is the strategic direction? Maybe. Probably. Listen, we got more. We got more on this. I have so much to talk about. And these are some of the, this is barely the part that is this is negligible stuff. We got so much more to talk. Possible scenario. One stupid tweet spreads baseless rumor of 90-day tariff pause, causing number to go up. Wall Street learns tweet was fake news, so number go down. Trump seeing a 90-day pause made number go up, claims credit for idea, and announces a 90-day pause. This was, of course, 2 days ago by Tyler Austin Harper, and he was right. That is precisely what happened. Did Trump do this tariff pause on pause for his rich buddies to buy the dip? No. No. I will tell you what I mean by this, okay? I will tell you what I mean by this. Is there insider trading that he's doing? I guess it's not even insider trading at this point. It's outsider trading. Weirdly enough, it's insider trading, but also being done on the outside. There's no shadowy backroom deal at this point. I'm sure that also happens, but like it's very obvious that he's just like, yeah, no, we're doing this thing. Having said that, as I've told you before, this, like what just took place in terms of rich people probably buying the dip, right? And making out a lot, gangbusters style in this process, like a nice little pump and dump, okay? That is just what will happen regardless, okay? That's not the actual intention. That's not the actual intention of Trump's madness here. But there is a method to the madness regardless, and I will describe it to you in a moment. Okay, I will get to that in a second. Let's finish this piece, and then I'll talk about what Donald Trump is trying to do and why it will still fail. Let's continue.
Ship in the water, they will still face at U.S. Customs those higher tariffs. And as we reported over and over again, generally speaking, what companies do is they pay that higher tariff. U.S. companies pay that higher tariff at the border as the goods come here and then pass it off to consumers.
All right, Rachel, Rebecca Witt, thank you. And we will continue to watch closely. The market's now up a little more than 2,000 on the Dow, and we will continue to monitor action at the White House on this as well. Our coverage continues on ABC News Live and abcnews.com. And David Muir will be back tonight with the entire team of...
Oh, yeah, here comes the press secretary and the...
There's something really funny. Are the tariffs over? For the time being, the universal tariffs are over. They're done, okay? Will they come back? Nobody knows. Most likely it will, because Trump is crazy. But as far as the Chinese tariffs, they are still very much in play. They are not over, okay? It is far from over. It is far from over. They're not done. They're reduced to 10%. Exactly. So there will still be an increase in prices. There will still be an increase in prices. There will still be market volatility. The only reason why the markets are reacting to this in a positive way is because Donald Trump went in and said he was going to kill everyone. Before Donald Trump came into the room, you had a sense of safety. After he came into the room with a loaded gun and started killing people, you were like in a moment of panic. You were like, oh my God, he's going to kill everyone. He's insane. And now that he stopped killing, now that he stopped at like 3 people, okay, and is threatening with the loaded gun the rest of the Chinese people in the room, I guess, everyone's like, oh, thank God. Okay, we're free. At least we're free. Holy. So now they feel much better. They feel much better overall than they did maybe while Donald Trump was killing people. but they don't necessarily feel better overall than when they did before Donald Trump entered the room with a loaded gun. Anyway, here's Donaldo in front of the White House with NASCAR racing champions. Just having a fun time, dude. Just having a fun go at it. Why not?
Thank you very much, everybody. We have a very special day for a lot of reasons, actually, if you really think about it.
Now, one of the funniest parts about all of this, of course, is that the Republicans that spent every moment trying to tell you how good universal tariffs are in application are now turning back and saying, brilliant move, sir. Thank you for taking away these awful tariffs. You are the king. Every single one of these guys that kept repeating over and over again that like these tariffs are the best thing that has ever happened to American trade, American manufacturing, are now turning around and stating that actually, thank God, Donald Trump removed those tariffs. Here it is. Okay, let's look at this. Fox News tells the story of a small business owner who used to pay $26,000 in tariffs on goods imported from China, but now faces a $346,000 tariff due to Trump's 104% tariff on Chinese imports. Okay? Let's take a look at what this story looks like.
Exclusive story, and it talks about how with these 104% tariffs and went into effect.
This is still in effect, by the way. This is still going to cook a bunch of businesses.
You know, we think that
poor Sean Fain now has to change his stance again. No, you misunderstand what Sean Fain is saying in terms of trade protectionism. If you think that he is just simply responding to Donald Trump and trying to play and simply defending Donald Trump's decisions, that's not what's happening. The UAW's position on trade protectionism is built around wanting to maintain domestic manufacturing. Ironically enough, I think it's also still short-sighted. No, I don't think this chatter means Sean O'Brien. He means Sean Fain, who is the union leader of the UAW. Now, Sean Fain and the UAW's communication on these tariffs has been overall positive, cautious but optimistic. Okay, cautious but optimistic. Part of the reason why it's cautious but optimistic is because they're not for free trade. It's understandable. It's understandable that they would be anti-free trade. It's understandable that they would be pro trade protectionism. I've talked about this already. The issue that I have with the ways in which Donald Trump has applied these broad tariffs is, of course, the reason why he did that is because, or the ways in which he did this insane thing was damaging to the global economy and damaging to even domestic manufacturing as well. It was damaging the domestic manufacturing because there's still a ton of parts that come from outside of the United States of America when you're manufacturing and assembling a vehicle in the United States of America. So obviously companies would start signaling layoffs in the process if these tariffs were implemented, because you can't do trade protectionism if you don't have the manufacturing hub that was built ahead of time.
China is going to have to pay for it, but it tells a story of a special needs toy importer. And when the tariffs went into effect at midnight, his tariff, he's been paying a tariff because he gets stuff from China, $26,000 a year. His tariff bill went from $26,000 at midnight to $300.
Wait, I don't get it. I thought that China would pay for it. Why is Fox News telling me that China will pay for the tariffs yesterday and then telling me today that actually it's an American small business owner that will pay for it? Let's get back to Fox News.
$46,000. And that's money he's going to have to come out of his pocket. It sounds like he's going to have to go ahead and close down part of his business. He tried to make the toys in the United States, but the tariff on that, his most popular item, went from $0 to $17 at midnight. And what he told the New York Post is people don't understand the tariff situation. They think just foreign countries are paying for the tariffs. That's not true. Half of the tariffs are being paid for by U.S.-based companies. Yeah. So when you look at the big numbers and they look good, just remember that according to this guy, half of the small businesses and half of the tariffs are being paid by Americans.
Wait. That's only if Chinese manufacturers reduce their prices on their end and take on some of that cost. Anyway, Trump is responding to questions. Let's take a look.
$1 trillion off trade with the United States. That's not right. And now I've reversed it. It's for a short period of time, but we made $2 billion. We're making now $2 billion a day. And somebody had to do it. Roger actually said it. Charles Schwab was here a little while ago, one of the great financial people, and he said he's been waiting for 40 years for somebody to do what I did over the last month.
Wait, hold on. This has subtitles.
One of the great financial people, and he said he's been waiting for 40 years for somebody to do what I did over the last month. And if you didn't do it, you wouldn't have a country. It wouldn't be sustainable. So I'm honored to have done it. And, you know, look, nothing's over yet, but we have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. You know, it's one of those things they don't know how quite.
I promise they want to make a deal.
And
they
President
do.
Xi's a proud man. I know him very well, and they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. They're in the process of figuring it out, but they want to make a deal. And we have many other countries, as you know, many more than 75, and they all want to come, and they want to come here, or they'll go to Commerce, or they'll go to Treasury. We have our great senators here and congressmen. They'll call John, they'll do somebody, they'll go through somebody, but they're all calling, how do we do this? They all want to make a deal. Somebody had to do what we did, and I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them, if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China.
You've never seen a fuck up like this, believe me.
We'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out amazing. I think that our country is going to be at the end of a year or shorter, but I think we're going to have something that nobody would have dreamt possible. A man like Roger Penske, I don't want to get him in trouble with China, so I won't, but he would know that you have to, someday you have to cut the bow and you have to do what you have to do, right, Roger? And that's what I did, and I'm very happy to have done it.
Mr. President, the Prime Minister of Greece just told Breitbart's Matt Boyle that he thinks absolutely the European Union and the United States could work out a trade deal that's win-win and, quote, mutually beneficial to both sides.
I agree.
What do you think about the Prime Minister's comments, and do you think a deal could be struck with the European Union?
First of all, I know him. He's a good man, and I appreciate his comments. Yeah, a deal could be made with every one of them. A deal's going to be made with China. A deal's going to be made with every one of them. And there'll be fair deals. I just want fair. They will be fair deals for everybody. But they weren't fair to the United States. They were sucking us dry, and you can't do that. You know, we have $36 trillion of debt for a reason. We don't have it there for fun. They have it for a reason. And people took advantage of our country, and they ripped us off for decades. I've been thinking about this for decades. If you ever saw me on television, I was young like these guys. And those are good old days, I'll tell you, Roger. But I was like these guys, young.
Peki, aldım. Diğerleri de gelecek birazdan.
Nothing changed, and nothing was done about it. Then I did it. In my first term, I did it, and did it well. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China and others, and I started the process, but then we had to fix up from the COVID mess caused by China. We had to fix up from that, and we did a good job of doing it. And when we handed back the reins after a rigged election, and when we handed back the reins, the stock market was higher than it was before COVID coming in. So, you know, we did a great job, but we didn't have time to do the big thing, which we're doing now. And it's, you know, it's like a patient is sick, you have to do surgery. A patient is very, very sick. And Joe Biden handed us over a country that was in very serious trouble, economically and in every other way. They let China run away with things. They let other countries run away with things. And maybe worst of all, in a certain way, is what they did at the border. We had people pouring into our country by the millions. Many of them were murderers and drug lords and thieves and people from prisons from all over the world. And there were people from mental institutions, insane asylums. They were taking their mentally insane, and they were dumping them into our country. And I'll tell you, Tom Homan and Kristi Noem are doing a fantastic job. in removing them. And now the courts, the Supreme Court just gave us numerous good rulings where we have to be able to get them out. You had other judges trying to take over the system. And think of it, they take over. They want these people coming back, Tren de Aragua from Venezuela, the Venezuela jails that cut off the fingers of a man in Colorado. They cut off his fingers because he called the police looking for help. They said, "Did you call the police?" He said, "Yes, I did." "Put your hand down," and they cut off the fingers. This is what they want to bring these people back now. And I want to thank the president of El Salvador for the job he's done, because that is, that's the way it has to be done. It's too bad. Yeah, please.
Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, they've been talking about tariffs for decades. How come when these Democrat elites want tariffs, everything's hunky-dory, but when President Trump wants tariffs, all hell breaks loose? Do you see this double standard?
I love this guy, whoever the hell that is. That's really nice. I appreciate that question. No, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, everybody knew you had to do it, but they never had the guts to do it. It does take guts. It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, see, just be cool. It's going to work out. It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out.
Yeah, no, totally. Things are so good. Things are so fine.
It's going to take a little conditioning.
Teach him. Besides, you have too many energy socialists in here that don't understand the basics. Why answer every dumb question when you can teach thousands at once? Okay, take a week off.
Like it. And people investing in our country, they're going to do better than they've ever done before. We have more car manufacturers, Roger, coming into our country now. Speaking of cars, we've never seen anything like it. And they're coming in because of the election, but they're coming in because of the tariffs.
Yeah, let me start talking about.
They don't want to pay 25 or 50 or whatever it may be. They don't want to pay that. They can't
China and Taiwan's relationship right now in the midst of this conversation
Mexico,
instead.
Building a plant, they're all coming into the United States. Canada, they're coming in. From China, they're coming in from everywhere. And that's just cars. We have chip makers coming. We're the biggest chip maker in the world from Taiwan, coming in, spending $3 billion to build plants, and mostly a big plant. This is a hell of a plant.
I usually do that.
The kind of money that
I just can't do that here right now in this moment. It's crazy.
You know, you'd say million would be the right number. It's not $200 to $300 billion. $billion. Think of that. $300 billion. If you look at Apple, Apple is going to spend $500 billion building a plant. They wouldn't be doing that if I didn't do this. They'd just keep building them in China. And that's unsustainable. It's not a pleasant thing to do, but I appreciate the question. And, you know, interestingly, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, Crazy Nancy, they've wanted to do this for years, but they never had a president that had the guts to do it, because it does take guts, believe me.
Look. A lot of what Trump is doing today, while it is insane and belligerent seemingly and causes a lot of instability in the markets, what Trump is doing directionally is the same thing that previous administrations have been trying to do as well. But they don't have the same appetite for death and destruction that Donald Trump has, because Trump believes he can actually tank it.